The grade 2 Pat O'Brien, 7/8 of a mile, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. This was the goal for Catalina Cruiser. They had thought about going to the Woodward next week up at Saratoga, but the goal for him is the Dirt Mile. This was a win and you're in. They chose to stay home. This race looked like it was going to be very, very appealing on paper because you had Roy H., you had Ransom the Moon, you had St. Joe Bay, you name it. You also had the return of Battle of Midway. Long story short, all those horses scratched, except Battle of Midway. He was the one that stuck around. This thing scratched down to a field of 4, and you know what? When that happens and you allow a horse as talented as Catalina Cruiser to get out there and set a moderate pace, he's gonna make you pay. Trevor Denman with the stretch run of this year's Pat O'Brien.
They're at the top of the lane now. Catalina Cruiser still just being pushed along by Drayden Van Dyke. Battle of Midway trying hard to make a race of it, but Catalina Cruiser really just a workout for him today, striding away, magnificent looking individual too. Catalina Cruiser and Drayden Van Dyke absolutely cruise in the Pat O'Brien. Battle of Midway.
Catalina Cruiser gets the job done. He remains unbeaten in 4 lifetime starts. He wins by more than 7 lengths over the second choice Battle of Midway in his first start since last year's Dirt Mile out at Del Mar, and the third place finisher is Vorticity in a field of 4. Let's talk about Catalina Cruiser. He's 4 for 4 lifetime, over $300,000 in career earnings, owned by Ronis Racing LLC, trained by John Sadler, bred by W.S. Farish in Kentucky, ridden to victory by Drayden Van Dyke, and you see the pedigree at the bottom of the horse card. He is by Union Rags out of a mineshaft mare named Seagull. 103 buyer, nothing official just yet from a Timeform US standpoint. Craig Milkowski, the chief figure maker over there at Timeform US, he had tweeted that the number would likely be somewhere in the high 120s, which sounds about right. Catalina Cruiser gets his final 1/8 of a mile in 12:76. When you compare that to the other 3 horses that ran, Battle of Midway 13:40, Vorticity 13:36, 3-5 India 14:08. We're talking lengths better. And that makes sense because he put lengths on the field as they came down the stretch. I hate to make this as bland as this. I didn't learn anything. I love Catalina Cruiser. Those of you that have listened to this for some time know I've been a fan of this horse really since he broke his maiden. I didn't learn a hell of a lot. He got out there. He set a moderate pace for him. They went 22-1 early on, and okay, that's honest enough. But then 44-4 for a half mile, 9-1 for 3/4, and then he just jogged home. The 103 buyer, yeah, I know he can run fast. What happens when he has to overcome a little bit of adversity? And I think that's really the only thing that still needs to be answered from this horse. We know he's fast. We know he's capable of going to the lead. We know he's capable of sitting off. But what happens when there's other talent in there that perhaps I'll just use because he was the last one we spoke of. What happens if Promises Fulfilled is the one that's out there setting that fast pace? And sure, Catalina Cruiser has the ability to work out a good sort of stalking trip, but what happens when Promises Fulfilled doesn't spit it the way some of these other horses have? Or if he can't get out to the front end, does he run giant like this? Because really all 3 of them, his 3 giant races all came with soft early leads. You got to call a spade sometimes. I love him. I think the sky is the limit. But I am a little bit curious what happens when he has to get pushed a little bit. That's all. It's not a knock. I'm just curious. Battle of Midway, 89 buyer. I don't think this is... Look, he was certainly not ready to go. This was a race that was used as a starting off point. Now the question becomes, how good is he actually? Because if you take that Dirt Mile out of his PPs, he's a nice horse, but he's not really a Breeders' Cup caliber runner. We have some time to figure some things out. I'd imagine they're going to run him once more. Where? I don't know. But I would imagine you get one more run into him if they do try to get to a race like the Dirt Mile. And I don't have anything else to say about the other 2 horses, Vorticity and 3-5 India. Catalina Cruiser and Battle of Midway, they were the 2 horses that people were focused on. Battle of Midway was short, needed a race, got that. Probably get some fitness, and wherever they choose to go next will be interesting. And Catalina Cruiser, I knew he was fast. I knew he was talented. He looks awesome out on the racetrack. I didn't learn anything here. He's in, though. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, that's going to be the goal. He's already in. Sounds like they may just train him up to it. May not have another race in there. He just continues to improve. And you know, again, the sky is the limit. A long-term goal, they've already made it clear, is the Pegasus World Cup out at Gulfstream back in January. But first things first, let's get him to the Breeders' Cup. Let's get him to the Dirt Mile. Catalina Cruiser puts on another show. Nobody's ever really been close to Catalina Cruiser at this point through 4 lifetime starts. He gets the job done in the Grade 2 Pat O'Brien with a 103 Beyer speed figure, and likely somewhere in the high 120s as far as Timeform US is concerned.